Hello and welcome to another episode of RHOX Garage. I'm your host Dan, and today we're going to be installing part number SEAT-731B on this 2013 Club Car Precedent. Let's take a look at what comes with your kit and the tools we're going to need for the installation. When you open your box, the first thing you're going to find is your top and bottom seat cushions. Next up, you're going to have your kick plate. After your kick plate, you're going to find your main flip frame. And finally, we have our right and left handrails, right and left bagwell support brackets, SAM assembly support bracket, foot plate support brackets, and our box of hardware. Now we've taken a look at all the parts, let's take a look at the tools we're going to need for this installation. The tools that we have are 10mm, 13, 14, 15, and 17mm ratcheting and regular wrenches, a Phillips head screwdriver, Torx 40 bit, socket wrench, two 10mm sockets, 8mm socket, and a cordless drill with a socket attachment. Now let's get started. Before we get started with this installation, we want to make sure that our cart is turned off, our parking brake is set, and if you have an electric cart, your cart is switched to tow. Now that we've done that, our first step is to remove the two top bolts that hold the canopy to the SAM assembly. Now that our top is removed from our top struts, we're going to remove the lower bolts on the top struts, but we're going to leave them in place at this time. Now that the two lower bolts have been removed, we're going to remove the OE seat back cushion. Now that our OE seat cushion is removed, that gives us access to all the bolts we're going to need to remove the SAM assembly from the cart. Our last step in the disassembly process is to remove the remaining two bolts that hold the brackets in place. Now our next step is optional, but we're going to take a second to clean underneath of the SAM assembly while we have it off. Now the first step in our installation process is to install the vertical seat supports and our foot plate brackets in the holes on either side of the bagwell. So before we install these brackets, we want to make sure we have the correct orientation. So the vertical seat support is going to curve outward away from the cart, and the foot plate bracket is going to curve upward. And while we're tightening our hardware, we want to make sure that we're snugging it down, but we're not over tightening it. Just enough to keep everything snug, but still allow us a little bit of movement. Now we're going to repeat the process on the other side. Now that our vertical supports and our foot plate supports are installed, it's time to move on with the flip frame. Now the flip frame is going to install with the OE hardware towards the front of the cart and the supplied hardware on the vertical supports. Now that our flip frame is loosely installed, we're going to install the foot plate using the supplied hardware. Now before we put the SAM assembly back on, we have to make sure we tighten those bolts that are underneath the SAM assembly. Now that the two bolts that hold our lower brackets in place are installed, it's time to reinstall our SAM assembly using the OE hardware. So you'll notice that when we removed the SAM assembly, we removed it all as one unit. But when you reinstall it, it's really going to be easier if you take your gutters out first and then install those separately. It's really going to make life a lot easier for you. And another tip for your hardware, you want to make sure that you start all of your hardware by hand first so that you don't wind up cross-threading. Now that our SAM assembly is reattached, we're going to remove the bag holder attachment with the two Torx bolts holding it in place. The next step in our installation process is to attach our SAM assembly cross brace to our seat back cushion. We're going to do that using the supplied hardware, and this is one step that you want to make sure that you only use hand tools for, because we don't want to damage the threads on the seat back. Now that our seat back is attached to the bracket, we're going to go ahead and place it on the SAM assembly. Now, this might take a little bit of persuasion. Now that our seat back cushion is installed, we're going to go ahead and attach our handrails. This process is easiest if you attach the Phillips head bolt first to hold the handrail up for you. Then you flip your frame forward to give you access to the other bolt. Another thing to note is we want to just keep our hardware hand tight at this time. And then we're going to go ahead and repeat the process on the other side. Now that our handrail hardware is loosely installed, we're going to go ahead and attach the foot plate with the foot plate brackets. Now that all of our hardware is loosely installed, it's time to go back through the entire kit and tighten everything down. Now that our hardware is tightened down, our last two steps are to reinstall the OE seat back cushion and our seat kit bottom cushion, and we're going to do that with the OE hardware in the front and the supplied hardware here in the back. Now that all your seat cushions are installed and you've verified that all your hardware is tightened down, that completes the installation of part number SEAT-731 on this 2013 Club Car Precedent. Thank you for watching this episode of RHOX Garage, and I'll see you next time.